Hi everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome back. I'm Jeannie and you all really seem to like the idea of dip it or dump it. So I decided to make this a series, and my second video for the series is going to be trying out these new Revel sensitive dip liquids. I first saw SipAndDip's video on this, which I'll leave her link below down in the description, and I got really intrigued, so I decided to buy the set for myself to give them a try. So keep watching to find out my first impressions of these liquids. But first, let's take a quick look at everything that comes in the set. So my first bottle is my dip base, and from the bottle it looks really thin, almost water-like. So definitely curious what the application of this will be like. And of course I have to give it a sniff test. So there's basically no odor, so that's a good sign for that one. And then our second bottle is Activator. So this is, it's Activator, but I'd say it's a very low odor. So it has a lot less of a scent than regular activators, but it still does have a scent, especially if you put it to your nose, obviously. And then instead of dip top coat, this comes with a gel top coat, but it is a HEMA-free formula. And I'd say it's probably a little bit thicker than other gel top coats that I use. And I have to say, I absolutely love these bottles. I love the shape. I think they're very sturdy, so I'm excited to use them. And then while I was shopping, I went ahead and picked up this ultraviolet set as well. So this is a purple tonal set that I believe they had released in the past and they re-released. And of course I had to pick it up because it looked so pretty. I do have some Revel powders in my stash, but I don't use this brand very often. But this tonal set, I could not resist. I'm not going to really walk you through my dipping process because that's going to be standard, but I will note that I'm going from lightest to darkest. I'm not sure if there's a correct way for tonals. Are you supposed to go darkest to lightest to darkest? I don't know. But either way, I'm starting lightest to darkest, but I don't like starting with my thumb. It's a weird thing with me. So I'm starting with ultraviolet 2 on my index finger, and then at the end, when I'm done with my pinky, then I'll go back to my thumb and do ultraviolet 1. I also prefer to only do one color at a time, and that's because I'm prone to dipping my fingers in the wrong colors if I have multiple jars open. So I'll do 2 dips of ultraviolet 2, and then once I'm done with that, I will move on to my middle finger in ultraviolet 3. So now that I've got that out of the way, I'm sure you're curious about these liquids. I mean, that's the whole point of the video, right? So the dip base, I will say I did struggle a little bit with this brush. It was a bit of a stiffer brush, and when I first started using it, instead of fanning out nicely, it was splitting on me, which made the application a little bit difficult. But I will say the more I used it, so when I got to my later fingers, it started to fan out and stop splitting. So it may just be because it was a newer brush, but just something to definitely watch out for if you get these liquids. I will say as well, which it's not really a dip base problem, but it did get a little bit patchy because of my peel base. Typically with my peel base, I use UNT from Amazon. Typically with my peel base, with the UNT, I don't have issues with dip base drying too quickly or getting patchy or anything like that. The only other dip liquid that I had issues with that happening with my UNT is the Adrata. So the same thing with these Revel ones. I'm not sure whether it's the formula, but it did get a little patchy, but that's okay because it'll be fixed with the second layer. As far as dry time for the dip base, I'd probably equate these to the Sundara odorless dip liquids as far as dry time. So it's definitely faster than other odorless dip liquids that I've tried, where you're not waiting like 10 minutes plus for it to dry before you can dust off, which I really do appreciate because I just do not have the patience for that. So I do give it like a couple seconds before I dust off because I don't want to dust off too soon, but I don't have to wait too long. And I am leaving this real time just so you can see how long I actually waited. I probably waited longer than I needed to with these liquids, but I just wanted to be careful that I wasn't dusting off too soon. as I was using the dip liquids, I didn't notice any odor, so if you suffer from dip flu, this may be a good option for you, especially because it doesn't have a really long dry time, so you're not waiting forever and a day before you can move on. So I'd say this is a good option, but I will call out that I typically don't suffer from dip flu. So I have had it in the past and I can get it, but typically what I think causes my dip flu is overexposure to liquids. So if I do a whole lot of swatching or if I do a lot of manis back to back, I may get a little stuffy. I may get a little bit of dip flu. But on a normal occurrence, it doesn't really happen to me. So I won't really know unless I do some swatching. So I prefer to use odorless dip liquids if I know I'm doing a lot of swatching. And then same thing, like I don't want to wait like 10 minutes plus per layer of my swatch. I just want to get my swatching done quickly. So I like that I will be able to use these for swatching and be able to move along fairly quickly. And I don't know if I've mentioned this before, I think it's also worth noting that even though this dip base is very thin, it actually didn't flood my cuticles, which I thought was a pleasant surprise because I thought for sure I was going to flood my cuticles because one, it's a learning curve with dip liquids, and usually the first time I use liquids, I always flood my cuticles, and two, because it's so thin, but I really didn't have that issue with these liquids. I'm just popping back in really quickly to say that I am really enjoying using these powders, and I don't know why I don't use Revel more often. So you may be seeing more Revel in the future. I don't know, maybe it's because you can only get, I think the smallest jar is a ½ ounce, and I have so many dip powders, I don't even need like a ¼ ounce, so a ½ ounce is a lot for me. But something like this purple tonal is so beautiful that I'm definitely glad that they're in ½ ounce jars. While I'm finishing up my dipping, I thought I would also mention that you may have noticed when I was unboxing the liquids that on the underside of the lid there was a QR code. So if you scan that code, it actually brings you to directions on how to use the liquids, which, to be honest, I probably should have scanned it at the time I was dipping. But luckily for the dip basin activator, it is pretty standard. It does get a little different with the gel top coat, which I wish I would have read the instructions, but you know, hindsight. So anyway, for using the liquids, they do say, you know, you do your standard prep, you apply a layer of dip base, and then you dip into your powder. They do recommend that before returning your brush back in the bottle, you wipe it on a lint-free wipe. And that's good practice for any liquids to reduce contamination, but I'm really terrible at not doing that. So you may want to do that, but you know, I just have a bad habit of not doing it. So, you know, brush off the excess powder once it's dry and then repeat for as many layers as you'd like. And then when it comes time for activator, apply a generous amount of the sensitive activator, being sure to cap your free edge. I believe Chelsea from SipAndDip had mentioned in her video that Revel had told her that you're specifically supposed to use the sensitive activator and not just any activator. I'll have to look back and watch just to confirm, but I'm wanting to say that she had mentioned that. So anyway, you apply a generous amount of activator and then you wait 2 minutes and then you can go ahead and file and buff. So I will say that I did, apply a generous amount of activator. I waited 2 minutes, but I felt like that wasn't enough for me. Like I felt like it was a slower drying activator and I needed additional time. So I will mention that as well, is I waited, I think at least 5 minutes before I was comfortable with filing and buffing. But these powders were so smooth, it didn't require that much at all. I don't have Revel's clear, so I'm going to use my Vivid Glamco clear to make sure I cap everything in clear before I go ahead and activate and file and buff. Now I'm back all filed and buffed, and it didn't take much work at all because the liquids were so thin and the powders were smooth. But I did decide I wanted to add a little something extra, so I have these little flower beads that I got off of, I'm not sure whether it was Amazon or Shein, but I'm going to apply these off camera and then we're going to do some gel top coat. I did my flower gems off camera because I felt like the video was long enough, but if you want to see how I did that, let me know and I can create a separate video on this. So getting into my sensitive gel top coat, here's where I should have been paying attention to the instructions and scanned the QR code. So I went ahead and applied a thin layer of the gel top coat to my nails, and typically when I use gels with dip powder I always go in with a layer of gel base first and then I go in with gel top coat. But this didn't come with a gel base coat, so I decided to skip it and to see what would happen, if it would peel or not. So going in and reading the instructions now, they say go in with a thin layer of gel top coat, cure for 60 seconds, and then go in with a second layer of gel top coat. And I didn't read the instructions. I clearly didn't understand the assignment, and I didn't realize that I needed that second layer of gel top coat. So when I cured my first layer and only layer, it cured tacky. So I thought, I guess this is not a no wipe gel top coat, and I need to wipe it, not realizing that I needed that second layer. And I am assuming your first layer kind of acts like your gel base, and that's why they leave it tacky, so that your second layer adheres to your first layer. But regardless, lesson learned. So once you're done with your second layer, or in my case, first layer, because I didn't read instructions, you want to wipe off that tacky layer with 90% or higher alcohol. And of course, you can't forget to rehydrate your cuticles after you finish your mani. So this is Give Me Smooch by Scales of a Mermaid. And I absolutely love these little rollers. I think they're so adorable. They came in a limited edition box that she recently released. And I hope she does them more often, because I absolutely love the concept. And here we are with the finished look. So as far as the Revel sensitive dip liquids, I definitely say they are a dip it. I enjoyed using them. They were thin, they were easy to use. I think there was a little bit of breaking in for the newer bottles. Like I said in the beginning, like the brush kind of split on me when I started using it, but the more I used it, the more it fanned out nicely. And so they didn't flood my cuticles. They didn't have a really long dry time. So I think they were really easy to use. And definitely I would recommend them if you suffer from dip flu. These might be a really great option for you, where you don't have to wait forever and a day for your liquids to dry. As well as, maybe you don't even suffer from dip flu. Maybe you just want to limit your exposure to the smell of the dip liquids just because you don't enjoy them. They're still a really great option. So I'll definitely be using these liquids. I've learned my lesson. I will apply a second layer of gel top coat next time. But having said that, I only applied the one layer of gel top coat. I wore this mani for, I think maybe like 4 days or so. I wore, not a long time, but long for me, and I didn't have any top coat peeling. So that's always a good sign as well. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, I'd appreciate it if you gave this video a thumbs up. It lets me know to continue creating content like this, and it also helps YouTube recommend me to others, which helps grow my channel. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I upload content every Monday and Thursday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.